In today's tutorial, we are going to learn how to add Google reCAPTCHA to our Next.js 14 application using App Router. reCAPTCHA is an essential tool for protecting your web forms from spam and abuse. By the end of this video, you will have a fully functional reCAPTCHA integration in your Next.js app. Before we dive into the code, let's set up our reCAPTCHA account. So first of all, we need to go to the Google reCAPTCHA admin console. So let's search for it. So this is the website for the Google reCAPTCHA. We first have to open it, and from here click on the Get Started button, and here again we have the Get Started button. Click on that and it will take you to the page where you can create a new reCAPTCHA for your website. So here we have a page to register a new site. So it is saying get started with reCAPTCHA, add advanced features like MFA, spam fraud protection and Google Cloud integration, up to 10,000 assessments per month at no cost, no credit card required. Okay, great. So here I will give it a label, testing. So there are two versions, version 2 and version 3. Version 2 is challenge based, and within that we have further two options that we can choose one from these two options. First one is I'm not a robot tick box, and second one is the invisible reCAPTCHA badge. Okay, by the way, if you read this, it is saying in the invisible reCAPTCHA badge, it is saying validate request in the background, and this will validate request with the I am not robot tick box. And the score based is the version that verify requests with a score. Okay, so sometimes it will not show you a challenge to solve, so I think it is better to use. So let's select this one, and in the domain you have to specify the domain. Your registration is restricted to the domains you enter here plus any subdomains. In other words, a registration for example.com also registers subdomain.example.com. A valid domain requires a host and must not include any path, port, query or fragment. Okay, for now we don't have any domain. We can add it later, but we are going to test it locally, and we know that the root domain is localhost. So I hope that this will work. Okay, or if that doesn't work, we may also add the IP address of the localhost. So you can search that as well, localhost IP. That is mostly 127.0.0.1. We may use that in case if we need it. Anyways, let's proceed. Here it is saying that we have to pick the Google Cloud platform. It looks like you have used Google Cloud before. To get started, we will create a new project and enable the necessary APIs. Okay, here either you can select the existing project, or if you type a name that doesn't exist, then I guess it will create it for you. But I'm going to use my existing project, and you can expand or collapse this section, and finally hit the submit button. Okay, now the site has been registered. In this step, we will be adding the reCAPTCHA to your site, and it is saying success, you are all set up. Okay, great. And these are the two keys that we have to copy. First one is the site key, and second one is the secret key. And site key is mostly the public key, so you can use this site key in the HTML code your site serves to the users, and you can use this secret key for communication between your site and reCAPTCHA. So you will mostly use the secret key in the backend that is not visible to the public. Okay, all right. Once we have the keys, we are going to now install the required package in our Next.js application. You can do this without any package as well, but I'm going to use the package that will make it simpler. React-Google-reCAPTCHA. And if you look at this is the npm package, and here it has weekly download 685,605. Okay, but be careful, this package is for Google reCAPTCHA version 2. As we are going to use the version 3, we have to pick this package. If you are using the version 2, then you have to pick the other one. Okay, this one has these many weekly downloads, so it is quite famous. We can definitely use it. Okay, great. Now let's copy the command, the installation command, and go back to your VS Code project and paste the installation command in the root directory of your project in the terminal. Okay, once it is done, we have to use it. So it has the entire documentation that you can read. We will use few of these options, but it is very dynamic and a lot of options are there that you can use. So take your time to read this documentation if you need to, but it is not compulsory to read all of this documentation. I will just show you the important steps that you must know to make it functional in your website, and you are good to go. Now let's start by creating a provider component that will wrap our app. So let's do that. We will create a file inside the components, and the file name would be reCAPTCHA provider dot. Let me fix the spelling here. reCAPTCHA provider dot tsx. Okay, great. Now here I will use the use client, and this will make it a client side component instead of the server component. And now I need to import Google reCAPTCHA provider from react-google reCAPTCHA-v3. Okay, save it. Now we have to import the React from the React, and after that I will create an interface reCAPTCHA provider props, and we are going to expect children, and then we need to create the component now with the name reCAPTCHA provider react.fc, and provide the generic type that would be the interface that we just created, like that. And here we will pass the callback function, and it will be getting the props as the parameter. For now we will be getting only children, and let's export this component like this. Okay, now within that I will return the Google CAPTCHA provider. Okay, and within that I will add some props. First prop would be reCAPTCHA key, and we will get it from the environment variable. So let's use the curly braces here, and we will be getting it from process.env.next.public_reCAPTCHA site key. Okay, after that we need script props, and these are the options that you will find from here. Like, this is a script props, and it will be expecting the object, and here you will see all of the options. Async is optional, default to false. So if it is default to false and you are not going to change it, then you don't need to mention it because it will automatically pick up the default value. Defer is also false. Append to head, it will append it to the head automatically. Actually, I will not specify any of these things because it will automatically pick the default values. If you want to change something, then you will mention them. Okay, now here we are getting a warning from TypeScript that type string or undefined is not assignable to type string. So it is saying that it is possible that this environment variable is not or might not be provided. In that case, it is not acceptable. But we know that it would be there at every cost because we will be providing it. So to confirm that, you can just use this sign here and the error will be gone. And after that, we need to pass the children between this tag like this. Okay, perfect. Okay, this provider component uses the use client directive for client side rendering. It wraps the children components with Google reCAPTCHA provider. It uses an environment variable for the side key. Now let's quickly create an environment file .env. If it is not created, then we will create it in the root directory like this .env and paste the name of the variable that we want to create. Now let's copy our side key and paste it here, and similarly copy the secret key. We'll add it here as well. We can name it reCAPTCHA secret key and let's paste it. Okay, that's it. So this would be visible in the public when you will build the app and you will deploy it. Anybody can see this key by going through the inspect element, because all of the source code for the public side code is available and can be read by anybody. But if you don't prefix the next underscore public, then this key would never be exposed and will not be available in the source code that would be available to the public. So it would be available only inside the backend code that would be hidden from the public. So it would never be downloaded by the browser. Okay, let's proceed further. Now let's create a form component that uses reCAPTCHA version 3. So in the components folder, I'm going to create a new file with the name form with reCAPTCHA.tsx. Okay, within here I will create a constant to create the component with the name form with reCAPTCHA, or here I will use react.fc is equal to. Okay, so this is our component. We have to return something, but before that let's create a constant execute reCAPTCHA and make sure to import this use Google reCAPTCHA from this package. And now create another constant handle submit is equal to async. Okay, that would be getting a parameter event, and the type of the event would be react.form event. Okay, now here I will use event.prevent default, and if execute reCAPTCHA is falsy or false or not valid, then we will just terminate and return. If everything is fine, then we will create a constant token is equal to await, and here we will call a function execute reCAPTCHA. We can give it any random name. You can use submit or form submit, whatever you prefer. And now you can console the token. Let me add some string as well here, reCAPTCHA token. So as soon as this form is submitted, we will show the token in the console. Okay, now after this line, you would typically send this token to your server for verification and then process the form submission if verification is successful. And after that, you will return the form that you are going to create on submit and pass the handle submit function. And within that, here you will have your form fields, and after that you will have a submit button like this. Okay, so in this form component, we use the use Google reCAPTCHA hook to access the execute reCAPTCHA function. The handle submit function executes reCAPTCHA and gets a token when the form is submitted. We're not showing any reCAPTCHA UI to user. It's all happening invisibly. Now let's set up our environment variable. For security, we need to verify the reCAPTCHA token on the server side as well. So let's create an API route here in the app/api/verify-reCAPTCHA/route.tsx. Oh, actually it should be ts, not tsx. Now I will export async function with the name post, because we want to use the post method, request, and the type should be request. Now here we will write our logic. Constant body is equal to await request.json. So this will basically convert the request into the JSON first. That will become the body that we want to review, and here we will extract the token from that body. Next, we will create a constant secret key is equal to process.env.reCAPTCHA. Make sure these spellings are correct that you have specified in the .env file. I'm just going to copy and paste once again just to double check. Okay, great. Now we have to create a constant verification response is equal to await fetch, and here I have passed a URL that is google.com/reCAPTCHA/API site verify, and then we are passing the query string variables secret, and we passed the secret key that we got from the environment variable, and we also passed the token in the response query string variable, and we are using the post method. And now we will get the result in the verification constant. So it will give us the response. We just have to convert it into the JSON, and as this function returns a promise, we have to use the await. And here I will use if condition. If verification dot success is true, then we will return the response success. Actually, here instead of using this response, we will use the Next.js response like this. Next response. Make sure to import the next response from next/server and use .json and pass it success true, and we have to pass the score as well like this. Score is verification.score. All right, and in the else condition we will simply return the JSON along with the success false. We should also pass the score like this, and here you can send the error codes if there are any from the verification error dash codes. Okay, and you can also make it further strict like this. You can add another condition where if verification dot score is greater than 0.5, then you will consider it success, otherwise not. Okay, so everything is done here. This API route receives the reCAPTCHA token from the client, sends a request to Google's verification API, checks both the success status and the score from 0.0 to 1.0, where the higher is better, returns the verification result and score. Let's update our form submission handler to use this verification API. After this line, I will create a constant response is equal to await fetch method would be used, and here we will specify the API endpoint that we just created /API/verify-reCAPTCHA, and this is the second parameter, that is an object, and here we have specified the method post. Headers is content type application JSON, and in the body we stringified the JSON and we used the object with the property token, and token is coming from here. Okay, great. Now we need to get the data from the response.json, and now we will check. If result is success, then we will show a console that reCAPTCHA verification success, and we will also show the data along with that. And in else case, we will show the error in the logs. So this updated handler executes reCAPTCHA to get a token, sends the token to our verification API, and checks the result before proceeding with the form submission. Finally, let's see how to integrate this into our Next.js application. Okay, so for that, in the app directory, in your layout.tsx file, we have to wrap the children with the new component that we just created, reCAPTCHA provider, and pass the children. Okay, this is imported from the components folder. Now we can use the form with reCAPTCHA component anywhere in your application. So let's quickly run our application. npm run dev. Okay, so the application is now loading. Okay, as this is working throughout the entire application, so on the bottom right you will see this little badge that is showing on the bottom right side. Now it's time to use it actually. So let's load our form in the page.tsx. So here I will just add that component. I did not export this component yet, that's why it was not showing in the suggestions. So use the export keyword here, and in the page.tsx now you can use form with reCAPTCHA, and it has been imported. Save it and reload it. There is an error. Actually we should use the use client here. I think that's why it is happening. Use client will do it because this should work on the client side. Okay, now you will notice that error is gone because we did not use the use client. That's why it was happening. So make sure add use client on the top of it because we are using use Google reCAPTCHA here. Anyways, so here you can see welcome and submit button, but so far there is no other inputs, but it's totally fine for now. Check the inspect element and here hit the submit button. Okay, you can see we got the reCAPTCHA token that is coming from here. So as soon as you hit the submit button, it calls the handle submit button function and it shows the captcha immediately. So if everything was fine and it is already proved that you are human, then it will not show you any challenge and it will show you the token directly. It will give you the token and we will save that token in the token variable, and then we will hit our backend API to verify if that token is valid, and we will also check the score. Okay, so after when we hit that, we got a response from the backend, and as this was a success, we got a message reCAPTCHA verification success here, and the object that came from the backend API, and we got the score 0.9. That is very good score. Currently it is tracking my activity, so Google already know that I'm not a robot, but I don't know if it shows any challenge on the incognito mode. So let's hit the submit button and see what happens, if it still gives me the same score or not. We got the token, and in the network the request went through and we got the success score 0.9. Okay, so that's how it will work. Alright, great job. We have successfully integrated Google reCAPTCHA version 3 into Next.js 14 app using the app router. So let's recap what we have covered so far. Setting up reCAPTCHA version 3 and installing necessary packages, creating a reCAPTCHA provider component, then implementing reCAPTCHA version 3 in a form without any visible challenges, using environment variables for security, setting up server-side verification with score checking, updating the client-side code to use the verification API, integrating reCAPTCHA version 3 into the app layout. Remember, reCAPTCHA version 3 returns a score allowing you to take appropriate action based on the likelihood of the user being a bot. Always verify reCAPTCHA response on the server side and consider the score when deciding to handle the submissions. Thanks for watching this Ayaz Tech tutorial. If you found this helpful, then don't forget to like and subscribe for more web development content. Also, don't forget to hit the bell icon if you want to get notified for my upcoming videos. And if you have any questions or feedback or suggestions, then please leave them in the comments section below. I would do my best to reply them as soon as possible.